You're standing at the gate, boarding pass in hand. Then the departure board flickers red, and your flight says canceled. Suddenly, you're stuck in a crush of people. You have no information, nowhere to sleep, and zero control over your next move. The airline desk agent will apologize and frame this as unavoidable bad luck. But if you strip away the apologies, what you're actually looking at is a legally binding breach of contract. That contract is governed by EU Regulation 261, a set of rules passed by the European Parliament that heavily protects passengers when things go wrong. These protections cover any flight departing from an EU or UK airport, or any flight arriving into those regions as long as it's operated by an EU or UK airline. This diagram breaks down exactly what they owe you based on flight distance. Under 1,500 kilometers means a mandatory €250 payout. Between 1,500 and 3,500 kilometers gets you €400. Anything longer, and you are entitled to €600. That means your travel disaster is actually a highly regulated, quantifiable debt. The airline now owes that cash directly to you. If the law guarantees that money, why do so few passengers actually claim it? Because airlines have built a bureaucratic maze. The claims process is intentionally complex, designed to induce fatigue so you eventually surrender. This flowchart maps your outcomes. First, accept a voucher, and they keep your cash. Second, give up from pure exhaustion. Third, hire an agency that siphons off 30%. But a fourth path bypasses the maze entirely, securing your full 100% payout. The compensation system acts as a trap. You are forced to trade your money for convenience, unless you know exactly how to walk past the gatekeepers. When you ask for compensation, airlines will almost always offer you a voucher first. They prefer this because it costs them less. You have to explicitly demand a bank transfer. If you demand cash, they might reject the claim entirely by citing extraordinary circumstances, often blaming a generic technical fault or a crew shortage. Here is the reality check. They cannot just say the word weather or operations and dismiss you. The legal burden of proof is entirely on the airline to provide concrete evidence. The Court of Justice of the European Union has already settled this in landmark rulings. The courts explicitly decided that technical problems and crew shortages are standard operational risks. They do not excuse the airline from paying you. Airlines rely on legal ambiguity. They bank on the fact that you won't know the difference between a genuine weather emergency and a standard maintenance issue that they are legally liable for. Because airlines throw up these roadblocks, a massive industry of no-win, no-fee claims agencies has sprung up to handle the friction for you. This pie chart shows what actually happens when you use one. On a €600 claim, these agencies take between 25 and 35%. That means you lose up to €210 in commission. They aren't filing bespoke lawsuits on your behalf. They are mostly just submitting standard templates that cite the exact same regulations you could cite yourself. You aren't paying for elite legal representation. You're paying a 30% tax for someone to fill out administrative paperwork. That gap is why TripWin exists. It's a free tool designed to generate legally watertight demand letters for you. It was built by Davide Gentile, a travel advocate who spent 30 years working behind the scenes in airline operations and tourism. After managing a midnight crisis on the island of Mykonos, where 180 passengers were stranded by a canceled flight with no support, he saw exactly how the system fails travelers. With TripWin, you input your basic flight details. The system instantly generates an EU261 compliant letter that cites the exact case law needed to hold the airline accountable. The trade-off is straightforward. TripWin takes zero commission, meaning you keep all of your money. In exchange, you have to physically email the generated letter to the airline yourself. By automating the legal jargon and removing the middleman, TripWin gives you back your negotiating leverage for about 2 minutes of effort. Figuring out the best path depends on your priorities and how much time you want to spend. This quadrant chart maps your options. If you have extreme administrative anxiety and absolutely zero time, you sit in the top left. For you, a traditional claims agency makes sense. You lose a significant chunk of your payout, but you avoid dealing with the airline's customer service entirely. But if you refuse to leave money on the table and are willing to send an email, you plot in the bottom right. This is where TripWin fits perfectly. The choice isn't between getting nothing and getting something anymore. It's a calculated decision on exactly how much you value 5 minutes of your time. Before boarding your next flight, remember that compensation isn't a favor the airline grants you. It is a legal right you have to proactively enforce. Check the description for a link to the free TripWin app. You can run your flight details right now to see if you are eligible. We've also linked Davide's full flight compensation guide if you want a complete breakdown of your travel rights in both Europe and the US. Don't get mad at the airline. Get what you are owed.